So, welcome to the Pourmand Wiki training. And so we're going to start off, I'm just going to go over this list of things that we're going to go over here. And on the right, I have just an order list of things we want to cover today. So before I start, I want to make sure that you guys know about the syntax reference page. So whenever you edit a page, or if you have any questions on how to do certain things, you can always click on this link here that says syntax. But we'll go more into this later. And I've included a link to that syntax page here on the Wiki training page. Okay, so let's just start from the very beginning. So we want to go to the Pourmand Wiki, and the URL is actually pourmand-wiki.soe.ucsc.edu. So if you type in this URL here, you're going to get redirected to this page that says permission denied. And that's because only members of the lab can see the wiki, and you have to log in to see. So if you've used it before, you're probably familiar with that, but if not, then that's something new to you. So I'm going to log in here with this training account that I've made just for this demo. It's called John Doe. Hopefully I remember the password. Oh, that's good. So now when you log in, you see this page. This is the starting page of the wiki. And wikis are kind of interesting because it's kind of like a blank slate. You can make lots of links to lots of pages, and how you want to organize it is completely up to you. It's really just, it's totally up to the user how things are organized. So after you've logged in, you can see this start page, and if you scroll to the very bottom, the first thing I want to go over is how to change your password. There's going to be a link down here that says update profile, and you can go in and change your password if you want to. Right? You can type in a new password, and that way, if you get hacked or something, you can come in and change it. And usually I recommend you make it a secure password and you change it from the first one you get. Because usually we email out a random password to you. So this page is kind of well organized. It looks like a regular web page. There's links you can click on it and navigate through. But behind all this front page, there's actually a list of files, just like you would see on your computer with your hard drive. You have your hard drive, and you have all these folders underneath, and they're ordered hierarchically. You can have folders within folders. So if you click on this index, you'll see what I mean. Here's a list of all the directories and all the files that are currently on the wiki. Right. So if we click on a folder here, a folder is a link in blue. Let's look for shared. We can see all the things that are under shared, and it's just like a directory structure. You have folders within folders, and you have actual files. And these files are the pages that you're seeing. So if we were to click on one of these internal links, you'll see here at the header it says Shared Journal Club Fall 2010. So the way it works is just like on your computer, how you have file folders, and those folders are delimited by slashes, right? You'll sometimes say like c/home/user/whatever. Instead of slashes, you have colons. So the colon here is just saying that this first folder is called shared, and there's another folder called journal_club, and then the actual file you're looking at is a final thing here, fall 2010. Okay, so that's how things are organized, and this start page is actually, if you look in the wiki or the index, there's going to be a file called start here, and whenever you have a directory, you want your default name to be start. So when you navigate to that directory, it'll automatically load it. And I'll show you an example of that. Okay, so that's the directory structure. We went over the index. The next thing I wanted to show you was a traceback. So say we're navigating through this page, and I want to look through my folder, John Kim's folder. Here you see this trace, and this trace is basically showing you a list of all this pages that you've recently visited, right? So we can go back to the start, and that brings us back to the start here, or we were just looking at this fall 2010, so you can go back. And so it's basically, this trace is a list of your previously viewed links. Okay, so that's one way to navigate through files.
Can you make it so your trace is larger than like 3?
I don't know. I think I don't know what the limit is, but it goes back pretty far. I'm not sure how many there are that you can see. There are quite a few of them.
Okay.
And it's not, it's just, the most recently visited page is displayed last. So I guess there's only 5 trace packs. which is usually enough. And the other thing you want to do sometimes, if you like navigating back and forth, is you can add a link to go back to the previous page. And I'll show you that later on during the demo. Okay, so the final way to kind of navigate through this thing is the search bar. So sometimes you want to find something interesting. So we're back on the start page, and say I want to look for this Wiki training page, and I know that there's something called Wiki and Training in here, so I can just search for it, and you'll see all the pages here that have Wiki Training. Let's see here if I can find where this page was. This should be shared Wiki dash training. So it's not always perfect. It won't always find you everything. So sometimes, you know, if you have things like this, you can pull up the actual name, but you have to sometimes type it in exactly. But we'll pull up this overview of what we're going through. So you can always look for things that you're looking for via the search. So if you know someone else is working on, say, nanopipettes, you can always look up nanopipette and it'll bring up all the nanopipette stuff, which is, for our group, a lot. So that's the basic navigation. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So that's how you kind of navigate in and out of things. So the next thing you want to do is like, okay, so you know how to navigate, but how do you make a new page, right? And the recommended way to make a wiki page is to create a link to a page that doesn't exist. Then follow that link and then create the page. And the reason why we do that is because you're not going to have orphan files that are unreachable from any other page. Right? So if you just were to create a page directly, sometimes if you don't create a link, how are other people going to find it? Mm-hmm. So the best way to make a new page is to make a link to an empty page. And I'm going to show you that here. So my training user, John Doe, has his own directory structure, or I'm sorry, his own folder. It's John Doe, and then :start, and this is a start page. And I have here already a link to a created page here, which is another training that Jeff Todd did before. But we want to make a new training page. Right, so the way we can do that is to create a link to a page that doesn't exist. So we'll call this November 2012 training. This is new training page by John Kim. And so when we create a link, we'll go more into depth about creating links later, but when you create a link that doesn't exist, you'll see that the link exists in red instead of green. So green means the link is good, and red means it doesn't exist. So you click on the red link, and you'll see a page that says this topic does not yet exist. So if you click create this page, this is a new page, and save it, now this page is going to exist. So if we follow the trace back to the page we were just on, John Doe, you see this link is now in green, and if you click it, you see that the new page has the content we put in here. So that's that's one way to create a new page, and the other way to create a page is to just go into the search bar and type the path of the file that you want to create. Like this. This is the backdoor way, and it's not recommended, but sometimes you can do it if you really want to. So it's going to be a hidden page. And so when we do this, we're going to navigate exactly to this path, right? So we just typed in this hidden page, and it says it doesn't exist here, and we can create this page. Right? We can create this page. Nobody will ever see this page because it's not linked to anything, right? So if we go back to the start of the home page of the wiki, there's no way you'll ever find that just by navigating through these files, right? Whereas before, when we created an empty link, we can always go back and find this empty link or this new link. But now the file is missing, and the only way to find that hidden file now is to go to the index, scroll down to John Doe, and you can see here the hidden page. Okay. All right, so just like you created a link, you can also create a directory. And to create a directory instead of just a link, you want to just make another link, but instead you put your new directory name in between this colon, and then you want to make a page called start. So I mentioned this briefly before, but start is always the default name for a directory. So when you make the start page, you want to it's basically like the home page for that directory. So this is a file inside a new directory called new directory name. Right. So just like before, when we save this, try this again. Oh, there it goes. When we save it, this red page, or this link is red because it doesn't exist. So if you create it, if you follow this link, sorry for the internet. Follow this link. It doesn't exist yet, so we can create this page. This is the start page for the directory. New directory name. And you save it. So if we go back to, now we've created this page, right? Now it says John Doe new directory name and start. So what does that mean in the index? If we go to the index and we look underneath this John Doe, we now have this new directory name and this page called start. So the reason you want to name everything start is you can create a link to the directory name, but it'll only show the contents of a file called start. And if you don't have a file called start in that directory, then it won't know what to show. It'll just create a new file with the same name as a directory. So there's some collision stuff there. Always, when you're making a new directory, always put a start page in there, and that's the key there. And you'll run into problems if you don't do that. So we showed you how to create a link to a non-existent page. You can create a page directly via the search bar. Okay, so let's go a little bit about the details of our wiki in particular, the Pourmand wiki. So let's just navigate back to the start. So for our wiki, we wanted to make it somewhat, private and somewhat public. So like when we first logged in, nobody could see the wiki except for Pourmand wiki users if you have username, account, or whatever. So another permission kind of thing here is everyone has their own directory, but only they can edit it, right? So I can click on Paulo's page, but there's no edit button here. I can only look at the page source. I can't look at actually, I can't edit anything. The only places I can edit things are in my own directory here. Right here, I can see the edit page, edit this page, or in any of these shared resources here. Any of these shared resources are publicly writable by any lab member. So here I can edit this page and add my own thing here. So just reiterate, anyone can read or write. Oh, I'm sorry, anyone can read anyone else's folders, but only you can write to them. So if you are going to have a shared project, you want to create a project under the shared folder, and that way multiple people can edit it. The other thing I want to go over really quickly is there's two ways to edit any page on this wiki. There's the syntax is called the DW edit, Doku Wiki edit, where you have to actually type in all of these special characters to format the page. It's just kind of like HTML, but with a new syntax. Or you can use FCK edit. And FCK edit is a WYSIWYG editor. That stands for what you see is what you get. Like Microsoft Word, when you make font size bigger, it'll appear bigger. So I didn't show you how I did that, but if you go to edit this page and you click on FCK edit, what will happen is you'll go back to the original page, and if you click edit again, you'll get this new WYSIWYG editor. And see, here we're seeing green text here because these are links, right? And this is basically like Word, where you can format text however you want it. You can make text bold, highlight it, make it bold, and that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go over this very much today. It's not something I personally use, and some people like it if you're more familiar with this stuff. But today we're going to go over all the Doku Wiki syntax, so you have complete control. Okay, so I've gone back to Doku Wiki, and you can see the syntax is back, and we don't have that WYSIWYG editor, but we still have some buttons up here that will help us a little bit in the future. So, alright, that was the end of my content creation page. Do you have any questions on how to create a new page or how to navigate back and forth?
Okay.
You're okay? Okay, so let's go over the formatting and how you change the text and whatnot. So let's go back to our John Doe start page, and let's click on this new training page by John Ken. This is new page A. So we're gonna, okay, so how do we change this text? Right now when we're editing the text, all we can add is new text. This is some new text, but it's just text, right? So if we preview this, we can see what it looks like. It just looks like text. But what if we want to make something bold? Let's make something bold. To make something bold, you just wrap the text in 2 stars, 2 asterisks. Bold. Right? Boldy, bold. So if you click preview, now this text is bold. In the same way, you can make things italic. Italic has 2 slashes. If we click preview, now we see this is an italic. And likewise, you make things underlined. And you can combine them. You can make something bold and underlined. Just like this. Click preview. Now it's bold and underlined. And there's also things like superscript and subscript, which is handy if you're doing some sort of equation, or like say I have 10 times or 1 times 10 to the super, and then n super, 6 cells, right? So if we look at this, now we have this 6 in the superscript. Likewise, we can say at time t subscript and then a 0, all cells were living. If we look at that, now we have a subscript of the 0. Right? So these stars and slashes and underscores are a way to format your text, right? And you can get similar results by highlighting a portion of it and clicking on one of these buttons. It'll automatically put these tags around for you, just like that. So we'll call this one formatting. That's great. So now we know how to add bold and italics and underlines, and that's sometimes helpful if you're trying to highlight certain things on your page. We went over briefly links, but let's talk about links a little bit more here. So a link in a Doku Wiki is always in this format. It's always within these two open and two closed square brackets, right? And so you can make this link go anywhere. Like we can call this John Doe November 2012 training 2, and we can create a page. And if we look at the preview, it's saying this name here, right? And it's if you don't tell it what text to display there, it will always display the final page name after the final colon. Okay? So you can have as many colons in here as you want, another dir, but always it'll show you this name. It's hard to see updated. So if you want, let's get rid of this here. If you want to change the name of the link, what you do is you add a pipe. I don't know. In Unix, we always call it a pipe. I don't know another name for it. It's vertical line.
Straight line.
Yeah, so a straight line. And you can add alternate text, alternate link text. And if you do that, then now this link text has changed. Right? So this is how you change the name of it. So a useful thing to do on your pages is to add a backlink to the previous page. So we can go, so say we want to go to the start page of the wiki. We can go start. We can call this home page of Pourmand wiki. And say we want to go back to the previous page, or John Doe's directory. John Doe's home folder, I guess John Doe's folder, John Doe's wiki page. I guess wiki page would be more appropriate. So let's save this page and take a look at what happens now. First thing that happens is the links are right next to each other because Doku Wiki needs 2 new lines in order to put them on a new line. So let's add that in to give it a little less confusion. So now we have 2 links here. We have the home page of the Pourmand wiki that we just added. So if we click this, oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to edit that out. Okay, so if we click on John Doe's wiki page, it'll go to John Doe's wiki page because we said go there. I think, yeah, sorry, I don't normally do this, so I think there's a way to specify. Oh, sorry, I forgot the colon here. So one thing that happens is if you don't specify the starting colon, it just thinks, okay, I'm going to go to the start page in this directory. So if you add this colon here, it should go back to the very first page. Oh, that's good. So that's starting colon is telling it, like, this is the root of the site. So go to the very first start page, right? Whereas here, sorry, in this link, we don't have that. So we should add the start here. So it's kind of like an absolute versus a relative path. So the absolute means always go to the very beginning of the page and then add this John Doe and then start. And if you don't have it, it just says, in this folder is there a file called start. Okay. That might have been a little confusing, but that's the way I think of it, at least. So those are 2 examples of backlinks. And if you want to make it a kind of a pseudo backlink, you can just rename this back. Right, and then it'll go back to the one directory up. So you can add these links as you like. Oops. So if we click on this page we were just at, this new training page, and we click back, it'll go back one directory up. Right? And you can modify that however you like. Okay, so we talked about internal links. Let's talk a little bit about external links. Say you found this really cool web page and it's really helpful for your research, and you want to add it to your wiki page. So how do you link to things outside of the wiki? You just put in the full path. So say you found Google to be a very helpful resource for research, right? So you can just put the absolute path of the external web page you're looking at into this square bracket, and now this link should be formatted differently. It's formatted in blue to let you know that you're going outside of the wiki, and it also lets you know because there's a little Earth globe here, right? That shows you that you're leaving the web page. So when we click on that, we're going to go to Google. So let's just go back here. So that's how you add an external link, and you can also add a link to an image. So say we really like this Google image, right? So if we were to copy this image URL, right? And if we paste it, we'll see that it's actually this URL here. You see this logo here. So say we want to add the Google image right next to the link. You can do that, I believe, by just adding the link to the image. Oops. Maybe it's further back. Oh, there it goes. So that's we'll go a little bit images later. So but you can also add links externally to other things, and when you click on them, it'll take you directly to that image. Okay, so that's adding an external image. What do we have next? Oh, sectioning. So sectioning is really helpful. And one thing that the Stoka Wiki does kind of automatically is to create a table of contents for you if you're to use these section headers and footers or headings. So here we're going to call this, let's call this, oh, okay, this is really helpful. So you have these buttons up here that we used before for the bold text and the italics and the underline. But if you click on one of these, H1, H2, H3, you'll get this kind of default level 1 headline, right? So level 1 headline, let's see what that looks like. And we click preview. So now we have this big section that says level 1 headline, right? We can change this to call this, we call this Wiki Training, November 2012. And then let's make a smaller header, call this one Intro. And then let's preview it. So now you see that you have an intro header, and you can make as many headers as you like. So let's add a new section here called, called headers. Let's make a header section, headers. So let's look at what does a header 3 look like, header 4, header 5. This one's a headers. So let's add a 1 and a 2 for good measure. So when we preview this change, what's going to happen is we see that all of these headers are a little bit smaller, right? And if you add text to each of them, you'll see what it looks like. It'll indent them logically. So level 1 text. Let's just change this up. So you see that text within subheaders are you know, kind of, they have this extra space here. So it lets you know that you're in a subheader, you know, so you can follow the paragraph. But what it also does is it creates this nice table of contents, right? So anytime you add a header, it's gonna add that same header or the same text of the header to this table of contents on the right here. And so what that means is, if we save this page and we want to very quickly jump to, say, level 1 headline, I've been working there, right? I want to jump there quickly. I can click it, and it'll take me there. One thing you'll notice about the headers is that only levels 1, 2, and 3 show up in the table of contents, right? So if you have a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily need in the table of contents, but you still want them to be separate from one another, you can use the level 4 and level 5 headers as a way to suborganize things without cluttering your table of contents. So the table of contents, as long as you're using these headers, becomes a very easy way to organize and to navigate through an individual page. Okay, so that's headers. Those are really helpful. And, you know, you can always go in. Okay, so one other thing about headers is if you have a level 1 or level 2 header, you're going to get this edit box, a little edit box by that header or underneath that header section. So if you were to click on this, it'll let you edit just that subsection without touching the rest of the page. So if you want to add new things, but I want to add things, but I'm afraid of destroying every other page, right? You can add things and you don't have to worry about, you know, modifying other parts of the page. Of course, if you need to modify multiple things at once, you can always scroll to the very top or the very bottom and click Edit this page. And then you see all things again. So the headers also become a very convenient way, if you have a very long page, to just edit a subsection of it. Okay, so we talked a little bit about images before, right? But say you have this image here, but it's a little bit too big and you want to resize it, right? So let's just edit this portion. And we can scroll down to this Google page, right? And let's put this Google image on its own line. But this thing is too big for us, or it's too small for us. So how do we change it? So you can actually define the exact dimensions in pixels that you want on your page. So say you want it only to be 100 pixels wide, right? So you can save that, and now this Google image is only 100 pixels wide. And likewise, we can make it much bigger. We can make it, say, 1,000 pixels wide. And when we do that, it turns into a very large picture. You can also edit the height. So say you're like, okay, this is fine, but I want it to be very wide and very short or whatever. You can add an X to add the height dimension. So say you want it to be very wide and kind of short. You can do that too. And so you can specify the exact dimensions of your image here by using an X. So you have, again, your link text, which is always, your link URL, which is always in these curly brackets, then a question mark, and then the dimensions. If you leave off the height dimension, then it'll automatically keep the aspect ratio when you scale it. Right? So if we just, bring it back to 500, now you get the same, you don't distort the image by altering the height, just the height or just the width. So that's good. So that's an example of an external image, right? You can put an external image in these curly brackets and add your URL, and you can resize it. But you can also upload an image, right? So say we want to find an image of something cool we want to upload, right? So let's Google something cool and look for, I don't know, hopefully they'll have like an ice cube or something. Oh, how about this dog boxer? So let's download this image of a dog boxer, and we can just right-click and save it as. Okay, so let's make a folder here called Wiki Training, and we'll call this the coolest dog. boxing dog. So, yeah, the coolest boxer, I guess. It's a French bulldog, not a boxer, right? But it's pretty close. So yeah, so if we want to upload an image, we can click on this little image thing. This icon. It's a frame. If you look really closely, it's a landscape actually. You see a little sun and some grass in the sky. But if you highlight over, it says Add Images and Other Files. So you can click that, and then you can actually navigate to your file. You just select the file here. See that at the top and the bottom, or it's not. Let's see. Okay. Name. We call it Wiki Training, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So let's open this folder and let's find the coolest boxer, and we can upload it. And as we upload it, we can change the name if we want. This is actually a French bulldog, right? So we can change the name and we can upload it. And once you upload it, you can see a little thumbnail here. And if you click the actual name of the file, it'll automatically insert it, right? So now we have these curly braces. So if we preview it, we can see the picture of the dog. And just like with our external image, if it's too big for our liking, we can resize it. So let's go here and add a question mark. And let's say we want it only to be 250 pixels wide. And we want the aspect ratio to be preserved. We can just add 250 pixels and I get a little smaller. And then we can add our alternate text here. And so this is a picture. This is not real. How's that? So if we preview this, and now if we hover over this image, we should get this alternate text here that says this is not real. So that's good. So if we save this image, there's a few things to notice. If you click on this picture, you're going to get a link to, you're going to get redirected to this information page about this picture. It'll tell you when it was uploaded, what the file name is, what it looks like, or I'm sorry, what file type it is and how big it is. And if you click on it again, you'll have a link that you can share and you can actually copy and paste this to someone and they can look at it. But only if they have access to the wiki. So that's images. And okay, so we link to an external image, and I'm recommending you don't do that. I recommend you always download the image and upload it yourself, because you don't have control of that external image, and if the owner of that image decides to move it or take it down, then all of a sudden in the wiki you'll have a broken link. So if you have something that's really important, I recommend you download it and upload it like we just did. Okay. So let's go over tables. So we can edit this page and add a new header. Let's call this one tables. Right. So what we've done here is created a new section called tables, and let's just make a very simple table. Right. What goes good in a table? I don't know. Name and status. So maybe my name is John Doe and my status is cool. Right. So I'm just going to go over really quickly what we're looking at. So in a table is usually, bordered by lines, right? When you have a table, you have borders. So the Doku Wiki is trying to do the same thing. You have a field or a cell, and you actually put the lines in yourself. And the lines you put in are these pipes or these vertical bars, right? So if we do that, we have two rows and two columns here. So let's see what that looks like. Let's scroll down here. Yeah, we have a table. We have name, status, John Doe, and cool. That's good. But say you want to differentiate your header from your data, right? So you don't think that someone's name is actually name. If you replace these bars with these carets, you're going to get a table header, right? Name, status. And so you can add as many as you want. So we can add another one. Let's say age. The coolest men have no age, right? And so we can add, nodder here too, and status PI, age unknown. Okay, and we can add things like that. And when you're working with the wiki here, or the tables here, you have to be careful not to add an extra column. So if you add an extra column, what will happen is it'll add an extra column to every single thing, but it'll be empty, right? This table doesn't know that these other ones don't have that column. So when you're generating these tables, be careful. And so the other thing you can do with these tables is you can align the text within the table left or right, or to the center. So say you like the headers. Let's add another field here, salary. And this guy makes no money ever. And Nader makes, let's say he makes $10,000 a year. Right? Okay. So say you want all the money to be aligned to the right. We have an issue. Oh, haha. This is one of the problems. So if you say we want all the money to be aligned to the right, we want all the headers to be aligned to the middle, the center of the cell, and then we want all the names and text to be aligned to the left. By default, it will always align things to the left. But to align in the center, it's this interesting convention. It makes a little bit of sense, but you basically put 2 spaces on either side, and that tells DokuWiki that I want spaces on the left and the right, right? Versus if you want to align to the left, you can add 2 spaces to the left. If you want to align to the right, you can add 2 spaces to the right, right? So let's see what that looks like. Preview. So now we have centered name, we have age aligned to the left, and salary aligned to the right. Okay, so if we want all our cells to be aligned that same way, then you have to do that to every line. So unless your formatting is really important to you, sometimes it's not really worth it to do this. But if you have a good aesthetic eye for design, then maybe you'll spend some time doing this sort of thing. So those are tables. What else do we have here? Okay, code blocks. Code blocks are really useful if you're doing any sort of coding, or if you have some text that is overlapping some of the DokuWiki syntax. So let me show you code blocks. So code blocks. So say I want to say, say I'm working in Perl and I want to do 2 squared. What is the answer of 2 squared, right? Say I am going to find out what 2 times 2 is equal to. That's you would think that would be okay, but the problem is the 2 asterisk is what DokuWiki uses for bold text. So what happens is you scroll down. Oh, it's fine here. Let's change it. So I'm going to find out whether 2 times 2 is less than 3 times 2. So what happens here is, oh no, now this is bolded and I've lost my special syntax. Right? So if you want to wrap your code or any sort of text that is being misinterpreted, you can put it in these code tags. So you open a code tag and you close a code tag. And what will happen is DokuWiki will not render that text. It'll put it in a little box, right? And it'll just give exactly what you put in. It won't try to interpret it as DokuWiki syntax. And you can also do cool things like, say if you want to, have a Perl program, my name equals John, print name, right? If you preview this, this is just normal Perl code, and it won't do anything. But if you tell it that it's Perl, right? You add a space and you let it know that the language is in Perl, then it'll color it appropriately. So this is useful if you're doing any sort of coding, but if you're not, then I can understand that it's not useful. And if you want to look at all the code types that are available here, you can always go to the syntax reference page. So you can go to the syntax reference page on this wiki training site, or of course at the top of every edit page there's a syntax. And if we click on the syntax, we get to this page and we can scroll down to code, non-parse block. Oops. Code. Source code. So, okay, yeah. So here's, if we go to syntax highlighting, here's all the supported languages that you can use. So let's see what else we have going. What else do we have left to cover? Footnotes. I don't actually use footnotes that much, so I actually don't know how to use them. But if you want to know how to use them, I guarantee you can find any information you need in the syntax reference page. So if you ever have a question of how do I do this, or how do I, do anything, it's almost always going to be somewhere in this page. And it's kind of to a point where if it's not in here, you probably can't do it without a lot of work. So that's the wiki training. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah. Any questions?
No.
Did you figure out the back and forward links and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, definitely the most useful way to navigate a page is probably this traceback. And it helps if your files are named intelligently, so that this traceback means something, right? You don't want to have a million start pages because it's really confusing. So you don't know what start means. Okay. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see if I can turn off this recording.